Welcome to the Confident Content Creators Podcast, where we'll talk about how to live unapologetically and show up as your most authentic self online. Hey, it's Lindsay, confident content coach, boy mom, and corporate 9-to-5er. I'm an extroverted introvert who loves to talk about all things social media and how to create confident content that converts your followers into your ideal client. On this podcast, we're going to get clarity around your content strategy and hear real life stories from boss babes just like you who are showing up confidently online. I know how hectic and busy entrepreneurial life can be, so let's dive right in. Hey, and welcome back to Confident Content Creators. Today, I have with me one of my best friends. This is Vicki. She is a proofreader and editor and master wordsmith. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today, is all about the words of your content. So welcome, Vicki.
Hi, Lindsay. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Introduce yourself to the listeners, kind of tell them about who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I'm Vicki Werner. I live in Utah, and I'm a mother, a wife, a friend, and owner of Vicki's Red Pen. I've been editing and proofreading in one form or another for over 5 years, and work on books of fiction. I've done some historical fiction and a memoir, and a few business owners and their content.
Awesome. So Vicki's Red Pen, you're a proofreading and editing service, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you started out in books, but we're on Confident Content Creators because you've kind of branched into the social media world. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, thank you. As far as moving from book editing and proofreading to the business world, editing and proofreading content on social media, it became apparent to me, having a lot of newsletters coming my way and getting to know people and reading posts and captions and blogs, that sometimes things get missed. And I thought I would just be helpful and help.
I love that. And it's funny because we've had conversations before about how I remember telling you one time of like, you don't need to write a novel in your caption because no one ever reads the caption anyway. And you came back and you were like, I do every single time. So tell me though, because you kind of like glossed over that a little bit, but I think this is the funny part of it that people need to realize is like, you're out there lurking on their social medias, you're looking at all of their content and you're seeing these reels or carousels or even captions of people. And you're like, oh, she just put log instead of lot, which real life example happened to me. She was like, Lindsay, you misspelled a word. And I was like, I misspelled a word? So tell us about that a little bit.
Okay. So when I am viewing content, I am the person that is, if I see read more in the little dots, the ellipses, I hold it down and I don't listen to what you're saying. I'm going to read every word that's there because that's what matters to me. I will listen to it like 4 or 5 times, but I'm also listening on mute. I might not get to listen to it right away. So I'll hold it down and I will read every single word to an extent. Like if it's like a 10-minute read, you lost me 2 minutes ago, right?
Right.
So
yeah. That's such an important point though to make, is like, your captions don't need to be a novel. If you're writing a novel, you need to be writing blog posts, right? Like there's a time and a place for specific types of words. So when it comes to captions, what would you say is like, and it's hard to say in word count because like people don't understand in like word count, but like, what would you say maybe like paragraph wise or even sentence wise? What is a good amount of words in your caption that's not going to lose people's attention?
500 or less.
500 words or less?
500 words.
What is, and so in like layman's terms, right? Is that like a couple paragraphs or is that pretty lengthy?
If you can get it said, the important things in 3 paragraphs, and a paragraph is, in a long paragraph, that's 4 sentences. If you can get it said in 3 paragraphs, that's 12 sentences, you're golden.
Okay, so in like roughly 3 paragraphs or less when it comes to a caption, which is good because I was like, I've written blog posts that were like 500 words, a very short blog post, but I've written blog posts for 500 words. So But that's a good point. That it brings me to another point. When we're talking about content on the internet, I think the majority of us think captions. But what are some other contents where we need to proofread our words?
Ooh, I've got a good one.
Okay.
So around a specific holiday not too long ago, I scroll just like everybody. I'm scrolling and I saw this one, and it was about Valentine's Day, and I can't remember what the word was, but 2 letters were just flipped. And there were only 4 words in this letter, and I was like, "Oh boy." It didn't make any sense spelled that way.
Oh
Not at all.
no.
So your graphic needs to be, if you're going to put a word on there, it needs to be spelled right.
So in your graphics too. Yeah. I think I remember you telling me about this, and it was like a major news channel or something like that. Or is that a different story?
That's a different story, but yeah, major news channel.
Okay, real quick, just for kicks and giggles, tell us the news channel story without, look, we're not going to call out any news channels or news anchors right now, but tell us your story.
Okay. I was reading a post. The title of the post caught my eye. Normally I don't read the news,
The
but
importance
the
of a hook.
title, yeah, like got the hook. I was hooked right in. And so I was reading it, and in the first paragraph, they misspelled like 5 words. And I was like, oh boy, okay. And
Oh,
then so I scrolled down to see like who it was. Was I on some bogus news thing? Because you could get caught in that crap too.
yeah.
And I was like, no, this is like one of the major 5. And
Oh
I was
my
like,
gosh.
oh, I screenshot that.
Oh my gosh. I think that you sent that one to me. And here's how sneaky words are, you guys. She sent the screenshot to me and she was like, I can't believe this. This is a major news channel. She was like, this is a major news source. I can't believe this. Just read it. And I think I was like way tired or something that day. I don't know. But I read it and I was like, I don't I don't get it, Vicki. You're gonna have to point it out for me. And so she does the screenshot again. She circled all the words that were misspelled. And like it went right over my head because I just read it quick and it didn't hit me, but it hit important for you. And there's other people who are out there who are reading that. And it's like, you're supposed to be a news source. Like you are supposed to be educated in journalism. Like I'm pretty sure you went to school for this. And so that's kind of a big deal. And then it not only makes the author of that article look bad, but it makes the whole entire news channel look bad too. So kind of a big deal. So when it comes to polishing your words and making your words shine clearly to your readers, as Vicki's red pen would say, it's important to make sure that you're editing your content or you're proofreading your own content. But I'm going to give you guys some real life stories here because I hire Vicki to proofread a lot of my content. And here's why. Story number 1, I sent her a carousel and it was like 6 or 7 slide carousel and a whole Word document of captions that I wanted to put out there into the world. And so I sent these to her and I was like, hey, please edit this stuff for me. She got them back to me pretty quickly, actually. And it was like, none of this is bad. This is really great, except for you're going to want to do this, this, and this. And so it was really nice because my content at its core was good content and it was good writing. It's just like, I misspell words here and there, or I have like a double word, or like I will type out a content and then I will like retype it. And sometimes I don't take out specific words. And so she's like, there's a random word in here. And so that's what polishing my words look like. And to give you guys an idea of like the peace of mind this gives me, I had a carousel recently that I was like, I just threw it together and it was kind of time sensitive. I wanted to put it out on my page really quickly, but it was a weekend. And so I was like, I'm not going to bug Vicki because it's a weekend. I don't want her to work on the weekend. And so I proofread it myself, which I did proudly. She said that I only misspelled 1 word. But the carousel itself, because that's really hard. If you mess up on a graphic, you have to take the whole thing down and repost it again. If you mess up in a caption, you can easily edit that. That's not a problem at all. But I looked at all 7 slides of that carousel, I bet 6 times. And I spent so much time like over analyzing it to try to make sure that it was right because I didn't want to bug her. And so when it comes to that, when somebody is like, I don't want to bug Vicki, or maybe they're not in a place where they can hire a proofreader, what are some things that we can do to make that process maybe a little bit less stressful than I made it?
Yes. Oh, this is good. Okay. So my favorite thing to do is to stop. After you're done,
Just stop.
stop. Get up, take a break, get a drink of water, rub lotion on your hands, just do something else for a minute and come back to it. And then read it slowly.
Yes.
Out loud.
Oh, out loud. I love that. I do that all the time. I read my captions out loud because one, I want to make sure that it's my voice that's coming across in the caption. When it comes to authenticity on the internet, are you coming across the way that you would come across in real life? And so I like to read it out loud mainly for that, but I see the benefits of the proofreading aspect to it as well.
If you read it and you're fast, if you read it fast, your brain doesn't have a problem with that. Your brain will put those letters right back where they belong, which is fine. It's great.
Yeah.
But it's better to not like have somebody be like, I read that and I'm not sure what the stuff I read.
Exactly. Especially when when you're writing a caption, and if you write it, especially like multiple times in your head, you already know what the caption says. So sometimes when you read it back to yourself, especially if you're reading it back fast, you're going to skip and you're going to fill in what you think is there. And you're going to skip those words. Like you're going to read log and think it says lot. L-O-G and L-O-T, which to my defense are right next to each other on the keyboard. So
they are. It was probably just your fingernail.
That's the time. Oh man. Okay. So we've talked about the graphics themselves, right? And I'm going to go a step further and guess that also means like the words on your reels count as like those need to be proofread too. What would maybe you suggest when it comes to reels that we can go about avoiding those quick typos?
Taking your time. If you are filming a reel that has lots of like points, point, a lot of that, plan out what those are first. You're going to plan it out anyway. I mean, unless you're really super good at winging it, and by all means wing it. But it does look better when you hold out a and it says blah 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 and it's spelled right.
Yeah.
And that is another thing I do. I pause your reel to read exactly what you wrote.
Yes.
I might watch it 4 times.
Which is going to boost their engagement anyway.
You're welcome.
But I love what you said though, pre-plan it. And I would go a step further even and like pre-type it. So not just pre-plan it, but maybe type it up in a different app, like a notes app or something like that, and copy and paste it in there. That is going to be awesome. I also, and this is just me getting on a soapbox here, I'm not a fan of editing your reels or TikToks in app. And the reason being, TikTok's not as bad with it, but you can't really save out of TikTok and repurpose somewhere else without having to go through like a third-party website. But I don't like editing in the apps, mainly on Instagram, because sometimes when you put those captions in there and you're doing a lot of captions, after you hit post, it like moves your words around or it shrinks them and like squishes them, and it just doesn't look super clean. So I highly recommend type it up in a separate app first, but also when you're editing and you're adding those captions to your video, use a video editing app so that you can make sure that those words stay exactly where you want them to stay. So, soapbox moment over. Back to you. So we've talked about proofreading the words on your reels, proofreading the words on your graphics, whether that's a carousel or just a standard graphic, and words in your caption. But we all know that social media goes a little bit deeper than that. And one of the things that I like to talk about the most is optimizing your bio. So when it comes to your bio, this is kind of a big thing of like, make sure that this is spelled right? And that you have proper grammar. But what are some places on the internet where your copy needs to be proofread?
I agree that your bio needs to be spot on. That is where the SEO is searching for you. That's where people look when they're like, well, do I really like this person? Am I gonna hit follow? Something I've noticed recently, podcast, the notes for
The
the
show
podcast
notes.
episode, show
Yeah.
notes. Make sure your Instagram tag is correct.
Oh, like at Hey It's Lindsay or at Confident Content Creators, like the tag is not correct.
Oh my. If you dropped the Y in hey, who knows where you'd go?
That's okay. That's a good point to bring up though, because that's something that I write over and over and over again because that's my tag. That's essentially my name, right?
Mhm.
But when we're typing fast, we don't really see that we accidentally missed a letter or we did a hyphen instead of an underscore or whatever it is in our caption. Oh, that is a good one.
It
What
was a
about
surprising that I ran across.
yeah, that is super surprising. All right. So speaking of SEO, that's search engine optimization, which SEO is how searchable is your content. We talked about the importance of your bio because it's in your name, your handle, all of your content. That is all searchable. But in the SEO, when I was first introduced to this, I was first introduced to it when I was doing like my mobby blogging stuff. And I was writing a lot of blogs because it was like you have to have so many words in a blog to hit this SEO. So when it comes to off social media places that you need to make sure that your words are shining clearly, what are some of those other places?
Really good point. Blogs, your website, if you've got a website in addition to a blog, and your newsletters that you send out, your thank yous for purchasing or joining, your automatic responses, those all should be carefully worded as well as checked over just a little bit before you hit that send button. You can't usually unsend.
Yeah. So, and email marketing is one that I personally don't think about often because I think about like just writing an email and sending it out. But most people write like newsletters or they have specific automated messages when you opt into something or whatever. You're talking about like any kind of email that's going to come across to somebody outside of your organization and inside your organization. That's a whole nother story for another day. Of like, I'm not going to get into that story. That's a funny one. But email marketing is a huge one to make sure that you're proofreading your content.
Yeah, I've got a funny story with that one.
Oh,
Not too long ago, somebody they sent me an email asking me to have them look over my website and my content that I've got online, and they were offering me this service to make sure that I was doing everything right with SEO.
gotcha.
And
Like
I
fully optimizing your website.
continued to read optimizing. And as I was reading their email, they had words misspelled, they had grammar mistakes left and right. It looked to me more to be maybe it was translated incorrectly, or maybe it was just fired off way too quick by someone who hadn't read it at all. And I immediately hit unsubscribe. There's no way I wanted to be associated with someone who couldn't spell correctly or run spell check or run a grammatic check before sending an email.
Yeah.
They lost me immediately.
And that plays into the professionalism of it, right? Like having your words polished and clearly written, that sets a level of professionalism, and it sets you apart as like the authority in your niche. Because when we're business owners and we're sharing on social media, but the goal is to get them to come into our space and to purchase from us or sign up for our newsletter. So that customer journey of like having pretty words in your content, having pretty words in your email, having pretty words on your website and your landing pages. That's one that I didn't really think about until you said that, but that makes so much sense. Is like when that first touch of like they click on your website link and they go to your page and you spell irresistibly wrong. That could be devastating, right? Like that's going to be like, who?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. I love that. So tell us some of the ways. I love this question, and you posted it on your social media, but give us a brief overview of like, what is the difference between a copy editor and a copywriter?
Oh, that's a great question. I get this question a lot. A copywriter is the person writing the word, putting them out there.
Writing the words. Got it.
Writing. If there's a W in there, copywriting with an R is the C with a circle, not me.
Good difference between copywriting with a W and copywriting with an R. Gotcha.
Whole other animal.
Whole nother. We're not talking about copywriting in this thing, not the trademarks. We're talking about copywriting as in writing your copy. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
Which makes a lot of sense. Copywriting. And then there's copy editing. Copy editors edit copy. Copywriters write copy, which is content. It's a book, it's a blog, it's a caption, it's a reel, it's all the things. So an editor will look over your words that you are ready to present and make sure that things are spelled right, that your message is clear. If you've sent more than one message to be looked at, that your voice is maintained through the whole process and that your customer receives the message that you're sending, that you intend for them to have.
Yeah, and that's so important, especially in the beginning stages of a business where you may not be in the position to hire a copywriter to write all of your sales copy or your email copy, or you're just like me and you want to do everything by yourself and you really want to make sure that your voice is coming across and your voice is being heard, to have somebody who is that second pair of eyes that can edit that copy and proofread it for you. So what are some of the services that you provide when it comes to proofreading and editing?
For business owners, a copy edit / line edit, proofread your blog content, your carousel, your caption, anything you want to put in a message form and send to me. It can be proofread. If I've got suggestions for other things, I will add suggestions for things so you can maybe make it bigger, make it smaller. If you need some changes done, I'm open to doing even more than just proofreading. If you've got a book, I do proofreading and line editing.
Nice. So when you're a business owner and you're ready to take it to that next level and write a book, you definitely need a proofreader and an editor, somebody who is going to read that and make sure that it makes sense and that you didn't skip anything or add any weird things in there or spell things correctly. So that's super, super important. Well, Vicki, how can people find you? Where do they find you at?
I'm on Instagram and Facebook as Vicky's Red Pen, and you can contact me there.
Awesome. And I will put links to both her Facebook and Instagram in here. And if you guys need a proofreader, I highly suggest Vicki. She proofreads almost all of my content. And I bet it drives her nuts when I don't send her something and she reads it after. And she was like, oh my gosh, Lindsay.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, that's so funny. But yes, I highly suggest having somebody proofread your content, because no matter how good we think we are, we're human and we make mistakes, and our copy is going to shine bright to us, but we need to make sure that it's going to shine bright to somebody on the other end of the screen as well. So real quick, before we hop off of here, I realized that we never talked about how you and I met and how we came together, because I think that this is such a cool story, being on the internet and like talking about social media in general. So do you remember where we met?
I believe we met on a Facebook like party thing.
Yeah, so it was like a Facebook
Right?
group. I had posted that I was going to be a speaker in a Facebook party. So like totally different group. I was like, "Hey, I'm going to be a speaker in this party," where I was like selling my products. This is when I was in network marketing. And I was like, I could really use some hype women to like be there and support me. And she was like, "I'll do it. I'd love to." And so I invited her to this party, and surprisingly, she showed up. And like it was great, it went well, but we talked after that and then we just never stopped talking. Our relationship grew. We found out we live very close to each other, and now we're real life friends on and off the internet, which I think is super fun. And it's been like how long have we been friends now?
It's been has it been over a year?
I think it's been over 2 years.
Yeah, I think it's got to be at least 18 months.
I was going to say, I think like this fall will be 3 years, I want to say.
Time really has flown by.
I
The last
think so.
5 years has gone like,
yeah.
But yeah, it's got to be 3 years. We can celebrate.
Yeah, we should like have an anniversary party.
We should.
A friendship anniversary. Well, the reason why I bring this up is the importance of relationships and connecting on social media. If I wasn't a real person with Vicki and she wasn't a real person back to me, we would have never became friends, and she would have never started Vicki's Red Pen. I'm just going to toot my own horn right now. I know you probably still would have without me, but let me have this shining moment of like, maybe possibly Vicki's Red Pen wouldn't have happened without me.
I think that, yes, you're right, because I was still I still probably would have proofread for my novelist friends, but I wouldn't have gone like business with it. I wouldn't have given it a name, and it wouldn't be my baby.
Oh, well, I'm glad that I've been a part of your journey, and I'm glad that you are editing more books and now your copy. So if you guys need somebody to read over your copy and your messaging to make sure that you're not spelling anything weird or having obvious grammatical errors, then you definitely need a second pair of eyes. So like I said, I will put all of Vicki's information in the show notes. Vicki, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. This has been super awesome, and I'm super excited to see where you grow from here. So
Thank you, Lindsay. It's been really fun.
thank you. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us today. If this episode boosted your confidence or helped you find clarity in any way, then will you do me a huge favor and leave a review wherever you're listening? You can also share this episode on your social media and tag @Confident Content Creators. Also, don't forget to turn on those notifications so you never miss an episode. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.